Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling software design patterns,
Okay.
specifically the abstract factory pattern.
Sounds interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of sources for this one.
Okay.
An excerpt from refactoring.guru, and then a YouTube video by Derek Banas.
Excellent.
So we've got a website and a video today.
Awesome.
So imagine this.
Eh.
You are building a furniture store simulator.
All right.
You've got
I like it.
all kinds of furniture, right?
Yeah.
You've got chairs, sofas, coffee tables, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But each of those comes in like different styles.
Of course. Yeah.
Like, you've got your modern,
Right.
you've got Victorian, you might have Art Deco.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the challenge there?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to have a Victorian sofa with a modern coffee table, right?
Right.
So you got to make sure that the families of furniture all match.
Yeah, you want to be able to like switch out,
Yeah.
the whole set at once.
Right. Yeah.
Refactoring.guru actually calls this out specifically. They call it a guaranteed compatibility of products.
Oh, interesting.
So how does the Abstract Factory solve this?
Well, let's break it down.
Okay.
We start with abstract product interfaces for
Okay.
each furniture type. So you've got chair, sofa, coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
These define the common actions each type should have.
Gotcha.
Then we create concrete product classes for each style.
Okay.
So like modern chair, Victorian sofa, and so on.
So those are the actual, like,
Those are the implementations, yeah.
the thing. Okay.
Exactly.
So we got like the blueprint, and then we got like the actual, furniture pieces.
Yeah.
So where does the factory come into play?
So that's where the fun begins.
Okay.
We have this thing called the Abstract Factory interface.
Okay.
And it defines methods for creating each furniture type, like create chair, create sofa.
Hmm.
But here's the catch. They return the abstract product types, not the concrete ones.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Interesting.
And then we have what are called concrete factory classes.
Okay.
Things like modern furniture factory, Victorian furniture factory, each responsible for creating a complete set of furniture in a specific style.
Oh, okay.
So if I want to create modern furniture, I use the modern furniture factory,
Gotcha.
and I get the whole set.
Okay. So if I want a modern set, I use the Modern Furniture Factory.
Exactly.
If I want the Victorian set, I would use the Victorian Furniture Factory.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
So the client code, your furniture store simulator, only ever interacts with these abstract interfaces.
Okay.
It doesn't actually care about what concrete classes are being returned.
That makes sense.
It just says, hey, give me a chair. And the factory takes care of giving it the right chair,
Oh, okay.
depending on which factory it's using.
Okay, that's cool.
So this leads to what we call loose coupling,
Okay.
where your client code is not tied to specific concrete classes, making the system adaptable to change.
Interesting.
So if you want to add a new furniture style, like Art Deco,
Yep.
you just create a new Art Deco furniture factory
Gotcha.
and the corresponding product classes, and you're good to go.
And you don't have to go in and rewrite.
You don't have to touch anything else.
Like the main part of your code? Cool.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that make like a ton of classes?
It can seem that way.
Yeah.
It might feel like you're writing a lot of code, but it's all about separating concerns.
Okay.
And making sure everything's flexible.
Yeah.
So, it's a trade-off.
So you're saying the code complexity is offset by,
Yeah, by the flexibility and maintainability it provides.
especially in a bigger project.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've got this elegant system for creating these families of objects.
We do.
I'm curious how this connects to other design patterns. Because refactoring.guru mentions that this is like
Right.
related to the factory method pattern.
Yes, it is.
What's the connection there?
So think of the factory method as focusing on creating individual objects,
Okay.
whereas the abstract factory deals with families of objects.
So if I just need to make a chair, I could use the factory method.
You got it.
But if I need to make a whole set,
Then you need the abstract factory.
I need the abstract factory.
Okay, they keep everything consistent.
Okay, so it's like I've got this toolbox,
Yeah.
and the factory method is like my hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But if I need something a little more heavy duty,
Tower drill.
I'm going to use the abstract factory.
Exactly.
But before we get into like the specifics of how to use it,
Okay.
both of our sources have code examples.
Yeah.
But I feel like those could be kind of overwhelming.
Sure.
For someone who's not really familiar with this pattern, is there a way we can kind of unpack that without getting
Absolutely.
too technical?
Absolutely, yeah. So imagine our client wants to order a furniture set from our simulator.
Okay, so let's say they want like a modern style living room set.
Okay, so the client would first choose the appropriate concrete factory,
Okay.
in this case, modern furniture factory,
Right.
and they'd create an instance of that factory.
So they're basically picking the team of craftspeople.
Yeah, Exactly.
that are going to make this stuff.
Right. And then using that factory object, they would just call methods like create chair
Really.
to get a modern chair, create sofa to get a modern sofa, and so on.
And the client code never actually has to deal with like
That's right.
the modern chair or like the,
Exactly.
or the Victorian sofa or whatever.
It's all behind the scenes. The modern furniture factory handles all those concrete details,
Gotcha.
ensuring everything's consistent.
Okay, so just by switching out the factory, you can change the whole style without having to touch the main part of the code.
No modifications needed.
That's cool. So
That's the beauty of it.
this is like really bringing us back to
It is.
those solid principles we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
Specifically,
Open-closed principle.
yeah, where you can like,
Extend without modifying.
you don't want to go in and break stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were saying earlier that
Yeah.
if you want to add like Art Deco,
Right.
you don't have to touch any of the existing client code.
Nope.
You just make a new
Factory. Yep.
and the product.
The Art Deco, whatever.
Exactly.
And since the main code only deals with the abstract,
That's right.
it doesn't really care.
It doesn't know the difference.
Yeah, it's style agnostic, I guess you could say.
Precisely.
But wouldn't this make the code like...
It can.
It can add complexity.
Yeah.
It's a valid concern. It's like any tool, you know, you've got
yeah.
to use it judiciously.
Okay.
It's most effective in situations where you have families of related objects and you anticipate the need for future extensibility.
Okay, so if you're just doing something small,
Right.
maybe it's not worth it.
You might not need the abstract factory.
Okay, so this is kind of like being an architect.
It is, yeah. You got to choose the right tool for the job.
Yeah. You got to figure out like how complicated the building is.
Right. Do you need a simple blueprint or a complex plan?
Okay, so let's talk about some real world
Yeah.
applications of this, because we've been talking about
Furniture,
spaceships.
Yeah.
Where would someone actually encounter this pattern?
So think about cross-platform applications, things that run on Windows.
Different operating systems.
Yeah, Mac OS, Linux, all that.
You don't want to have a...
Right, we wouldn't want to see a Windows button on a Mac.
Right, exactly.
So each operating system has its own look and feel.
Yeah.
And refactoring.guru even mentions this in their example.
Okay.
They talk about creating UI elements like buttons and checkboxes.
So you could have an abstract UI factory.
You got it.
With like create button and create checkbox.
Exactly.
And then you could have like a WinUI factory.
Right, and a Mac UI factory.
That would make the right kind of buttons and checkboxes.
That's it.
That's pretty neat.
So the same application code can run on different platforms.
Yeah.
But the UI adapts seamlessly.
That's a really cool way to solve that problem.
It is. Very clever.
I wonder if this is used in other areas besides UIs.
Oh, absolutely. Like game development.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
Remember that spaceship example?
Oh, yeah, from Derek Bamus' video.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Like you could have different factories for churning out different
types of spaceships.
Yeah, with different weapons and engines.
Totally.
So you could have like a fighter factory.
Okay.
It'd give you like laser cannons.
Yeah.
Agile thrusters.
Right, and then a bomber factory.
It'd give you heavy missiles.
Exactly, or a scout factory.
That's got like long-range scanners and stuff.
Yep, exactly.
So then if you want to add like a new enemy type,
right,
you just make a new factory.
You got to just create a new factory and the corresponding product classes.
So you don't have to touch your existing code. Exactly. You're not modifying the core game logic.
So it's like having a modular design system for spaceships.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
But let's bring this back to like our listener.
Okay.
Why should they care about this pattern?
Well, the abstract factory pattern, even though it might sound complex, it's all about writing better code, creating systems that are adaptable, maintainable.
So it's not just like a theoretical
it's very practical
concept. It's actually something that can help them build better software.
It helps you make better design choices.
Gotcha.
That will pay off in the long run.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We started with this problem of creating families of related objects. We looked at how the abstract factory can solve that.
Right.
Then we went through some actual examples.
Yep.
And like real world applications of this.
Absolutely. We even talked about how it relates to other design patterns like the factory method.
Right. So,
and we saw how it promotes good design principles.
It's not just about making objects. It's about designing a good system.
Exactly. A well-designed system.
Yeah. But before we wrap up, I want to leave the listener with like a final thought.
Okay.
Something to think about.
Sure.
We've seen how the abstract factory works. We've seen some of its power.
Yep.
But how would you apply this to your own projects?
That's a great question for them to ponder.
Yeah, what kind of challenges could this help you overcome?
Absolutely.
What families of objects could you create?
Yeah, what unique creations can they come up with?
Exactly. And on that note,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Abstract Factory
I think so.
design pattern.
It's been a good one.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned something.
And if you want to learn more about design patterns, be sure to check out
Yeah, check out the sources we mentioned.
refactoring.guru. And
Derek Bennis's YouTube channel.
until next time, happy coding.